Hey, welcome to another edition of Strategic Moves with Lou. I'm Mike Hendren, a licensed real estate agent here in Wichita Falls, Texas with Strategic Realty. And with me is Lou Italis, the owner-broker of Strategic Realty. How are you this week?
Oh, we're doing good.
I tell you, I don't have much to complain about.
I know.
I don't think anyway. But
Been staying busy, and the weather's starting to chill off.
starting to
bit.
moderate a little bit.
Yeah.
You can tell there's
Still hot, but
it's still
not.
hot, but something feels. You can tell we're starting to shift the climate a little bit. We're starting to inch closer to fall, and I can feel it in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice a difference, and I see this every year about this time. As fall starts to approach, the sky looks different.
Mm-hmm.
The colors look a little different. The blues are a little more muted,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the afternoon. So I think we're starting to see that shift toward fall we're already halfway into August.
Yeah.
For all
For all
intents and purposes, we are in the middle of August. So anyway,
School's back.
school's back in session. Yeah, we got the crumb crunchers are back in school. And so, be careful out there. Watch out for the buses and whatnot. Schools, make sure when you cut a kid loose that you turn them loose to the right people. And I'm telling you,
There's that.
there's that, and it's really weird. My daughter got instructions from the elementary school that you're not allowed to walk your kid in. You can't come to the door and pick them up. They have to walk them in and out, and all this. It's just it's strange. It's not what it was when my kids were in school. Not at all. Not at all. I'm almost glad my kids are grown now, but.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mine too.
well, so the housing market, this week we saw more listings.
Yeah, I think people are starting to get, well, I guess now that school's out or school's back in,
Mm-hmm.
grandparents are ready to put their houses on the market.
Yeah. So how many new listings thereabouts did we see this week, you think? 30 or 40 or 50? What we end up with?
Yesterday there was 40, and usually the way MLS works is it'll keep those on there for a couple of days before it drops off.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that in the last 2 days, at the very least, we've had 40 listings.
Yeah. Now we're recording on a Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're
This weekend we might have another 30 or 40 listings.
could be, I
They're
think
all within that price range. From what I saw, there was quite a few rental properties, but from what I saw, everything was somewhere between 80,000 to 280.
really.
So that range right there is starting to show some activity.
Okay. All right. So prices are going to come down a little bit, but I just don't know that we're going to see a huge contraction, though. I just doesn't. I feel like if we were going to see a massive fallout in prices, we would have seen it by now.
Yeah, we would have definitely seen some sort of drop right now. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it's a little bit too soon to predict that the prices are going to go that far.
Yeah.
I think the big what's the word I'm trying to think of? The big indicator is going to be what happens with the REO market.
Yeah.
If the REOs, because I'm seeing a lot more REOs right now.
Okay.
I've got about 11 of them in the pipeline that are going to be on the market here in the next 2 weeks or whatever. So,
and these are bank-owned properties, real estate owned. These are properties that the banks have foreclosed on.
mm-hmm.
Now they own them,
Mm-hmm.
and now they got to sell them.
Mm-hmm.
So simple as that. These are properties that people couldn't cover. They couldn't make the payments, and the bank ended up with it. So, or the lender, whether it may be a bank, maybe a credit union, could be,
It's usually towards the end of the year that a lot of the REO, the bank-owned properties, start to pop up a lot more because the banks want to get them off their inventory before the end of the year.
Right.
So we're going to see a bit of an influx of REOs, bank-owned properties, repos, I don't know, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
They're going to start popping up quite significantly within the next couple of months. And investors are going to start having something to buy.
Yeah. Well, I saw an interesting article the other day that said, perhaps the housing industry is what's going to save us from a recession if we really are in one, which I think we are. And you know, again, we go through this cycle every few years. But they said that they think the housing industry may actually save us from this because the gist of it was, as the interest rates go up and sales start to slow down, prices will start to fall a little bit. That will encourage buyers back into the market that didn't want to buy when the price, you know, if that house that they fell in love with was $250,000, now all of a sudden it's $225,000.
They're going to feel like that's reasonable.
They're going to feel like it's a more reasonable number, and they're going to move back into the market and start looking to buy again. So there's a feeling, at least, you know, among some of these economists and these economic minds, that actually might help save us from a recession if these buyers start to come back into the marketplace that had walked away from it because they thought it was too expensive. I mean,
that's an interesting perspective.
It is. It's an interesting thought. I think it has some merit. I mean, when you really stop and think about it, yeah, you probably have some buyers out here. Now, our prices here, we didn't see those big run-ups in prices like you saw in some of the larger metro areas.
Oh, yeah. Nobody saw Austin coming.
No. So, but still, I think you've got some buyers, even in our market, that felt like, I can't afford this right now. I can't do this right now. Even if the bank said, yeah, we can loan you the money, they felt like, no, I just can't do it right now. And so if the prices drop 3%, 5%, 6%, whatever, they come down a little bit, maybe then they come back into the marketplace and start shopping again. You know, so I think that idea has some merit, but only time's going to tell if that's true.
Yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, something can happen that totally throws a monkey wrench in it, and whatever we were gearing towards is going to just be completely the opposite. And
I want to point out to people, I don't normally wear a ball cap on this podcast, but I'm having
not advertising.
No, I'm not. This hat was a gift from a friend of mine who has passed away.
Oh.
And but anyway, I'm having a really bad hair day. Actually, I'm having a bad hair month. It's starting to retreat quickly now, and it's just, I don't know.
I think it's time for the old buzzard.
Well, that or a good quality toupee. I'm thinking, what is a good toupee cost?
Don't do it. No, don't do it. There's no such thing. There's no such thing
as a good quality toupee.
Not even a comb over.
Somebody, Burt Reynolds wore a hairpiece.
Yeah.
And so he was on the Tonight Show one time, and he said, someone asked him, is that really your hair? And he said, I paid $15,000 for this hairpiece. You're damn right it's my hair.
Wow. That's a lot of money. That's almost like a car.
Well, you're Burt Reynolds, this was probably the 1980s. You can afford $15,000 on a hairpiece,
Yeah. I guess.
Oh, but anyway, back on topic here, though. I think that people are going to come back into the marketplace in spite of the interest rates. I mean, the interest rates. I think there was a fear, maybe 60, 90 days ago when we were talking about where the interest rate was going to go. I think there was a fear that it was going to drive a lot of people just totally out of the market and things were just going to go, flatline on us. And that didn't happen. We still have people buying homes. I mean, they're still out there.
I think that it's going to drive some people from being able to afford the higher end homes. They're going to have to be more reasonable with what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to go back to looking at houses under 150,000 or under 300, just being more reasonable in their price. And a lot of these builders are probably going to have to be more reasonable in their price.
Yeah.
Because you got a lot of houses that normally used to sell for somewhere between 360, 300 and 420, and all of a sudden they were able to get prices like 650 thousand for their new build. So they're going to have to come, they're going to have supply also has to take a hit,
Well, sure.
once supply prices go down,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what was kind of throwing everything off.
Well, we've seen lumber prices drop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we are significantly lower than we were 90 days ago, 120 days ago.
Oh, I hope so.
I mean,
I'll have
we
to talk to my builder and find out for sure.
Well, I know and I haven't looked recently. And by recently, I mean like the last week or 10 days. But I know, like OSB, for example. We talk about OSB a lot, but it is the sheathing material of choice for almost every build now.
Yep.
Oriented strand board, OSB, has taken the place of traditional plywood for that.
Right.
And 7/16 is the go-to product, 7/16 OSB. And for years, it was $7, $8, $9, $10 a sheet all day long. In fact, I remember buying some myself for less than $6 a sheet.
If you get it in bulk, you can probably get it a little bit cheaper.
I think I bought like 20 sheets. I need like 20 sheets of it. And I think I bought it for like $5.70, $5.80 something a sheet. So just under $6 a sheet. Now that's been quite a few. That's been 15 years ago, but it got up to over $50 a sheet as recently as a year ago. I mean, $51 a sheet here, and I'm sure in other parts of the country it was a lot more expensive.
New York, it was probably just completely unattainable.
Oh, it was. Well, Cal, I know on the West Coast they were talking $60 a sheet in some places. $60 for a material that was $10, between $10 and $15 a sheet, almost anywhere you looked for it. And the last I looked, it was down to around $27, $28.
Oh, that's promising.
So that, we're about half the price we were a year ago. Well, that helps tremendously in the cost of a build.
Yeah.
In the new builds. And 2x4s were coming down and all the 2x lumber. But there are still, I'm told, there's still some shortages of some of the lumber, particularly the higher grades. When you get into cabinet grade plywoods and things like that, there's still some shortages there that are still being, they're still factoring into this.
So it may not be the price so much that's keeping these new builds pricey, but also
supply
the length
chain
of time. Yeah, the length of time that it's going to take to build them.
Yeah.
Right now we've been lucky and we've been able to get them done within 16 to 20 weeks. Just depending on the weather.
Yeah. Well, I know the people I'm talking to about the new builds that we're doing. I'm telling them 16 to 24 weeks. Mm-hmm. That's your expected window from the time the foundation is poured and the concrete's ready to build on. 16 to 24 weeks, and that's if everything goes as planned. According
to plan. Mm-hmm.
Now, again, we've learned over the last couple of years, you don't like to, but you have to factor in the possibility that something you need is not going to be available. Mm-hmm. That the electrician's not going to be able to get all the breakers they need, or the exact panel they need, or the plumber's not going to be able to find all the necessary fittings, or they're not going to be able to find the faucets, or or whatever it is. We've seen this happen so many times in the last couple of years where the supply chain issues trip you up, and something that would have been a common item that you could walk in.
Or one of the contractors gets sick. Like right now, we're learning that we have to have multiple contractors.
And
we have more than two painters.
Yeah.
More than two more than two tile layers.
Yeah.
Because we had one get sick and disappeared, and then when you were expecting him to go to the next house and the next house and the next house, and he didn't show up.
Yeah.
Now you're in a pickle.
Well, and that's a whole other challenge too that the industry has faced, is just having enough people to do the work. The contractors being able, the flooring guy being able to hire enough help to do their job. The drywall people, I mean, it takes, you're going to hang drywall, you need at least two guys to do it. I mean, ideally, you need two people at least.
I think the guys that we use about 4 or 5.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They could just do it in a day or two.
Exactly. But, one guy can't do all the work.
Oh, no.
Two guys, it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. If you got a full crew, 5, 6 people, man, knock it out in a day. Mm-hmm. But that's been the problem, is it's not just supply chain on the component side, but the labor force challenges as well. And the fact is, we were dealing with some labor force challenges even before COVID, even before any of this stuff happened. We were already dealing with labor force challenges then. That was a factor in 2018, 2019, big time.
Well, not to mention, and I talked to a lot of my subcontractors before we even got started, is that there's a shortage of specialties, like people that are even willing to learn how to brick,
right?
Willing to learn how to do these manual labor type of jobs.
Yeah.
Because usually what happens in these kinds of positions is it's passed down from father to son, and, you know, the son will go out there and help daddy, you know, do the job, and then eventually when he gets old enough, then he starts working with daddy, and then and those kinds of things happen. Well, we have a whole generation of kids that have no interest in that because they're sitting around playing on their phones. They've got friends that they're, you know, playing games with over the web, and they have no interest in or even desire or need to go out there and work with daddy.
Probably a year ago or more, I was talking to a contractor. He's in the concrete business, and he's originally from Mexico, and he's been doing this for 40 years. I mean, he started doing this when he was a little kid.
I'm sure.
So he's been doing this his whole life.
Yeah.
And he told me, he said, my kids have zero interest in being in the business. He said they have no desire.
They have no concept of money
to do this.
They have no concept of hard work.
He said
their work ethic is just garbage.
Yeah, he said I started in Mexico with my dad when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, following him around. He said by the time I was 10 years old, I was working on my own. He said I was working on my own at 10 years old. Okay.
Daddy would drop him off at the work site.
And I mean, and this dude, I'm telling you, you could tell this dude had worked hard all of his life. Remember how Popeye had those great big forearms, big muscular? This dude had forearms like Popeye. He looked like Popeye. And I mean, you could tell this dude had been working hard his whole life. But he said his kids and grandkids had no interest whatsoever in having anything to do with this industry. They don't want to be in it. They don't want to work this hard.
And that's going to be our downfall as a civilization if we don't.
Yeah, you gotta
you don't do something for that.
You gotta have people that build and create and repair things. You have to have these people, and
unless we can get machines that'll do it, unless these kids can start getting smarter. They need to get smarter, and they need to invent machines that can do the work for them.
And remember the Jetsons, Rosie the robot? End up with Rosie the robot out there, doing the concrete and bricking the houses and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
my daughter and I had this argument about because we went and watched Top Gun, and she didn't understand. She's like, well, they didn't really address the fact that drones could have done that mission, flown that mission. So why would we need to have pilots anymore? If a drone can go and do that same exact job. And I was like, I don't know what the answer is here.
Well, in the movies,
if we only have drones, I mean, it's obviously it's a movie, but if we only have drones, then what happens when we run out of drones? She's like, well, we'll just make more.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, are you gonna join a factory that's gonna be making drones?
And I don't want the drones making other drones. I saw Terminator, okay?
Yeah. We know how this goes.
We know where that ends up. No, thank you.
But she's like, and I was like, yeah, I guess that's right. But a drone probably couldn't have done those G's without completely falling apart or exploding.
Here's the thing.
And then even so, like the drone could, so we take a $5 million drone and we just, shoot it into the mountain.
The chicks
that's
don't
not a drone anymore. That's a missile.
The chicks don't look at the drone the way they look at Tom Cruise. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, Tom Cruise doesn't look the same as a drone.
Exactly. There you go. That's where, and it's kind of hard to. You got to have a hero and an anti-hero in the movies. You got to have both. You got to have those elements, and it takes humans to do that. No, I think
it was an awesome movie, but that's the mentality of that's the mentality of these kids nowadays. Is that they don't really see the human element anymore.
Well, and
it's all machines.
Value, it's the value in the work. It's the value in the results of the work. And I'll tell you where I think we get into a little trouble. Okay. So I stopped earlier, and I bought a bottle of water. And there's a young man in front of me. I'm going to guess he was probably between 17 and 21 years old, if I had to guess. Somewhere between 17 and 21 years old. And he bought a candy bar for $1.85. And he pulled out a card and put it in the machine to pay for it. And that just tears me up for a couple of reasons. Number one, am I the only person left that carries any cash?
Probably.
Ever?
I don't carry any cash.
I do. I said I don't even feel fully dressed unless I got some folding money in my pocket. I got to have some folding money. But $1.85, the merchant fees that the merchant's got to pay for him using that card are probably at least $1 on that transaction. He lost money on that transaction. The merchant lost money.
That's why they're charging $1.87, because that candy bar probably only cost him like 25 cents to get from.
I don't know, but one way or another, he didn't make nearly as much money on that product, on that sale, as he would have if the kid had $1.85. How do you?
If he didn't take credit card, though, he wouldn't have gotten anything.
He would. I know. And it's just I don't know if it was a credit card or debit card. It doesn't really matter, because you're going to pay, the merchant's going to pay those fees no matter what. But it's this. There's a mentality at work that it's not just the value of work, the value of money, the value of the end result of the work. It's
how
the
you
work
get there in the first place.
The work ethic, everything that surrounds it, has kind of fallen apart on us a little bit. And part of it, I think, is for so many years in this country, we told all of our kids, if you don't go to college and get a degree, you're not going to be worth anything. You're not going to make a good living. You're not going to have a good life. You can't have a good life being a mechanic.
Everybody's doing the same thing. Yeah, we got this group mentality of everybody doing the same thing.
But I'm going to tell you something right now. The 3 wealthiest dudes I know right now.
Never went to college.
Never spent one day in college, and they work in the auto industry, and 2 of them in the building trades. And these guys have got money. In fact, I know one of them. I won't say him by name, but I know for a fact this guy's a builder. He doesn't have to go to the bank anymore. He builds them out of his own pocket. That's the kind of money this guy's made. He builds them out of his own pocket. He does not have to go to the bank and ask for a loan anymore. This guy has worked his whole life, and he's been very shrewd, very smart, and very successful. We need more people like that with that ethic.
Right, and the biggest thing is you have to reinvest in yourself.
You do.
You don't go and so, for instance, This is how I've been successful in my business: is that you don't go on vacation whenever you get 2 cents in your pocket. And spend $10,000, $15,000 on vacation. You take that $10,000, $15,000 and you reinvest it in your company. Right. That way you can continuously build on what your goals are, on what you're building. And so for the first 5, 6, 7 years of my real estate career, that's all I did is I took every penny I made and I went and bought another house. I went and bought another rental property, and I put my money there. So if I had $20,000 in my bank account, I would go and buy another rental property, and then I would put renters in there, and then now I would start making money on that, and that's what I did for the first 6 years of my career, and I built up my portfolio to the point now where I'm selling those properties that I bought 6-7 years ago at a massive profit, and I'm able to take that money that I reinvested, put some of it aside to go on vacation, and the rest of it to continue to build my business and build these new builds that we're doing. Right. So that's just how this is going to work. Right. That's how it's supposed to work. You reinvest in yourself and in your company, and you don't take it for granted, because tomorrow is never promised.
Yeah. And I'll tell you something, these guys I'm talking about too, all of them, they didn't run out and buy a $75,000 truck.
Yeah.
The first chance they got.
That was the only thing that I put into myself was my car, because I needed a reliable vehicle because that's part of my job.
You got to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, I have to be able to, go and take a look at houses, and I have to drive around a lot. I wear my cars out.
Yeah. Well, see, I do too. Yeah. I'll drive them. I drive them till the wheels are gone, man. I do. I mean, I just don't.
Yeah. And you just keep building a little bit at a time, I mean, now I'm at the point where I can sit back and take some vacation time every once in a while.
We've bought one brand new car in the last 30 years. We bought one.
I did buy a brand new car last year. That's the first time I've ever done that. Yeah. And I'll probably buy another one next year.
Yeah.
Because I didn't buy a brand new car last year, sorry. It was already 5 years ago. 2017?
It'll be 5 years ago.
Yeah. So in 2017, I bought my first brand.
It's not 2018 anymore.
Yeah.
More coffee. Drink more coffee.
Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking it
was
like 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, seriously. It feels like it has been. It doesn't feel like 5 years has passed. And, kind of going back to the whole thing on the housing, on the prices.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sitting around thinking we're going to go back to price, 2014, 15, 16 prices, I don't think that's going to happen.
No. We might drop down another 10, maybe 15% at the most, but I think we're still going to be. Yeah. I think the world has changed. The world has changed in a drastic way.
Just look at the wages that employers are having to pay now. Nobody. The whole minimum wage argument is moot. It is a totally moot point now. No one is starting anybody at $7.25 an hour, which is the federal mandated minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. Nobody is starting anybody at $7.25 an hour.
Oh, no.
Nobody.
That's a done.
Most restaurants can't even get anybody to come in and fill out an application unless they're offering at least $9 or $10 an hour.
I think 12 is now the new minimum wage.
It has somewhat organically risen to that level. Mm-hmm. Not through a government mandate, not through legislation, but and when I say organically, I mean just the shortage of labor, that in itself has forced wages up. You got to get people attracted to your company, attracted to your whatever position it is you're trying to fill. And so, you got to offer more money.
Right.
That's how you get them in the door. And so we have seen a lot of changes. I think where the housing market is concerned, what people want, what people desire. We talk a lot about the community in itself becoming a community where people want to move to, where people want to be, where they want to live.
This generation,
housing's a big part of that.
Yeah, this generation has really made it very hard for sellers to sell their properties too, because if you put something on the market that's not move-in ready, a lot of times buyers just aren't interested.
Yeah. I had one yesterday. They told me what they were looking for and what their budget was, and I presented something to them, and I said, I think we can probably buy it a little below the asking price because it does need A, B, C, D done to it. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of said, no, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, they don't want to do that work.
It's too much work. And I'm like, well,
That's where you get a loan.
Yeah.
Last week we talked with TC.
Yes.
Get a loan that has some repairs or updates built into the loan, so that you buy the property and then you get Strategic Building Services, which we have.
There you go.
To come in and do those updates for you. It's probably take a week or two, and then you can move into your brand new updated home.
And that's one of the conversations I'm having with them is, you can potentially borrow enough money to be able to make the purchase, make the repairs, make it move-in ready.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to take you a little bit longer to get into that house.
Are they in a position where they can stay in their original property, or are they renting? Or
they own, but they'd like to sell theirs and move right into something else. But they're going to,
Are they subject to contingency?
If they do it the way they want to do it, they would be. They own the house outright, their home outright. They don't have a bank.
Well, they could do a lease back. They could probably do a lease back with, if I don't know.
Yeah, we're talking.
You have to get creative with this process. This whole new generation, this whole new market is gonna force us to get a little bit more creative with how we sell and buy properties.
It is. Well, that's why you need to have a conversation with us. Let's get together. Let's talk. It doesn't cost you anything to talk. Period. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's free to talk.
And we can come up with a solution for any situation, any scenario.
There are answers out there.
I was looking for.
Yeah, there are answers out there.
Yes,
we can find them. Give me a call, 940-232-3876. It's Mike Hendren, 940-232-3876. strategicrealty.net is the website. The office phone number is
940-689-7900.
And we would love to visit with you and help you out. Come work with a professional. Save yourself a lot of time and effort and headache and pain and misery. Let us take on the pain and misery for you.
Let Mike find a strategy for you.
Exactly. Until next time, take care. We'll see you next time with another edition of Strategic Moves with Lou. See you down the road.
Toodles.